Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Masters of Marketing podcast. Really excited to have somebody on today this is my first time speaking with him. I've got Mads or Johansson on. Mads, have I said your surname correctly? There's a Johansson or
Oh,
Johansson?
Johannessen, isn't it actually?
Johannesson.
Yeah, Johannessen. It's a Danish one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Danish one. So calling all the way in from Denmark.
yeah.
Mads is the head of global marketing and e-commerce at Micromatic.
Excellent.
Prior to working at Micromatic, I've seen from your profile. You need to explain this a little bit to me as well. I've seen that you've gone away from Micromatic, come back to Micromatic. You've had a couple of jobs in between. You've done everything from sales. I see you've been in key account management, which I also want to touch on a little bit and how that affects you in marketing as well, which is great.
Yeah,
And then you've gone back into Micromatic e-commerce coordinator, and then at the same time that you left there, went to TradePoint, was a key account manager there. So in the sales world, then came back into Micromatic as the head of global marketing and e-commerce. So I've been doing that role for the past 2 years.
yeah.
And I'm really interested to dive in today to see what are some of the challenges that you're seeing there, like what does Micromatic do, and so on. But we'll first of all welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, yeah. So first, a little bit, maybe a small introduction to me and to Micromatic. And it's right that I have been in with Micromatic from 2016 until 2020. The reason for leaving the company there in 2020 was due to COVID. We are producing draft beer equipment, so meaning that COVID hit us very hard. All our customers was closed down more or less all around the world. In our 75 years of the company's experience time, we haven't seen anything like that. So that also means that our marketing department actually was more or less closed down during the COVID period. There was nothing to do. Due to that, yeah, everything was closed down, as it's the restaurant and the Horeca business area that we are working in. So yeah, but then there came then I went away. I was working with the e-commerce part before, went away, find it a little bit the more direct way out to the customer. So got a little bit more out in the front line. But then there came a good opportunity to come back in the company because another person was leaving and so on. And then I came back in 2023, and that's now 2 years ago. So
Got it.
yeah, when I came into this
Got it.
position, and since then we have been growing quite a lot. So the company went down during COVID time,
Mm.
and then we have been growing quite a lot since then. Especially the last 3 years, we have been growing a lot with the also acquisition of companies in our same business area. So yeah, but we can come a little bit more into that later on.
Sure. And the on the e-commerce front, because you also head up the e-commerce department, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's actually, to be honest, that's what is taking most of my time. So
Mm.
we are a classic B2B company, industrial. So we are producing and manufacturing those, yeah, some of the cake couplers that's just right behind me here. So we are classic manufacturing company. That also means that our marketing activities are compared to if we, for example, had a B2C company, we are very low on the activities. It's mainly trade shows and so on we're doing, but we have some customer portals where we have big integrations with our customers, depending a little bit
Mm.
on the markets and so on. But where we also have the EDI calls directly, but we also have portals where we take the customers buying the whole customer journey into our system and so on. So we really have close integrations with the customers on our ecom solution.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so you've been working with the e-commerce side of things at Micromatic since 2020, right? Is that when the company started on its e-commerce journey, or was there already?
No, I actually, yeah, I started on yeah, and I actually was working with it a little bit before then also, but the title was not reflecting that. So, but I started with it in 2017 on the e-com side.
Okay.
But we started actually the e-commerce journey the whole way back in 2004. So we have been with at that time totally standard web shop, just with some. It was in the US and in the Nordic that the customer could log in. They could see we use it more or less as a digital catalog in the beginning, and then
Mm.
we've simply just been developing on top of that. And then we decided to change our provider. So now we have changed over to a Danish provider on the Danish provider called Hesehus that is now providing the full solution for us. meaning that we have taken all the markets into the same system. So now we are actually operating in the same backend and all websites is made in the same system and so on. So we start getting the benefits across the different markets. But that's also needs some resources from us internally to maintain that.
Mm-hmm. And the tech setup across all markets is then probably trying to be the same, right? You're probably trying to have one single source of truth, make sure that everybody is working off the same marketing tech. For example, if you're talking about your tech stack, how does that look?
It's a journey to come there. We also face some problems. Just for example, trying to find a global credit card provider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we thought it was easy. It's not that easy to have the full local mindset of how do you do when you are in US in different states and so on. And then we also have a shop running in Japan, for example. It's just so different. And now we also open up in Poland with some payment services in Poland, and they are just way different. So we have seen that even we thought that we just could come in with one solution that would fit it all, then it's not possible. So we now, for example, just on the payment side, then we need to have for the different regions. So we have one provider for the US market, but then another one for European, and then probably have one for Asia as well.
And who have you got managing all of those technologies? Do you have somebody on the team that's doing it?
We have some in the team, and then also for the payment side, it's our accounting we take in, and then we also have our IT. But most of it's going via me somehow.
Okay. So you're also head of digital transformation as well. So by the same thing,
exactly. Yeah.
And is that it? So B2B. So in the B2B space, what I'm seeing quite often, or B2B e-commerce, this is a rapidly growing space at the moment, and there's so many opportunities to be made. I mean, in the B2C space, e-commerce has been a thing since the start of the internet, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
B2B has started to catch up, but only recently I feel as though it's starting to explode when things are starting to maybe drop off on the B2C side. On the B2C side, or on the B2B side, I see things starting to ramp up now. Would you see the same thing?
Yes, what we see there is that the purchasers from our customers is the big breweries around the world. We see these purchasers that there is a shift, the generation shift between the purchasers. So we see a younger generation coming in, and they are familiar with buying online when they are off from work and so on, and they more or less expect the same when they are logging into to our shop. Why can I not see the lead time, for example? What is the confirmed shipment date? They expect these kind of services, and they want it in real time. So where we in the past, because one thing is just to take the order in. I mean, it's very simple. Take the order in, you put in your quantities and where do you want it to be delivered and so on. But another thing is the whole follow-up. So the thing that is happening after you place the order, most of us is full pallets deliveries, because it's something we mainly make to order. So it's and then it's not possible that everything is we have the raw materials in and so on. So there should be some split deliveries. We should show that as well. There's also the possibility then to change that, because then we can probably not deliver that part on time. Can we then provide you with another part you can get on time, and so on? And all these kind of information just do it a little bit more complicated, especially when you don't have it all in stock, but you need to go through your planners as well in the production. And we also have production on different sites. So we have 9 production sites in total in the group. So it's also aligning this, the different information.
The entire supply chain needs to be managed, right? Not just the top of that supply chain where the initial purchase comes in, but it's everything beyond that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to make this information as much as possible visible for the customer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the journey we are on. On some markets, we are further than others. So
how many markets are you operating on, Mads?
Actually, if we're looking 12 months back, then we are selling into 135 countries around the world.
Okay, so quite a lot.
It is. We have local presence on 20 markets. With own offices in 16 countries, but then we also have some own sales rep in Africa, South America, some areas in Asia and so on. But we have different locations around the world. We work with this, what we call be global, act local. That's more or less what we try to do. So in the areas where we are very well presented, we have what we call in our term a service center. That means that we also have local stock closer to the end user. That's, for example, we have it in Germany, we have it in Scandinavia, we have it in the UK, Italy, and so on. There we have a service center. We also have it all around the US. There we have 5 warehouses. Then we have in Asia, China, Vietnam, and Japan. And we're also in Australia. We're also operating with 4 warehouses in Australia. But then it's a little different when we then come to our export markets. Then we're a little bit more limited. And that's where we really see this with our lead time and on the export markets, that they expect a little bit more information from us, because where we are having a service center, we can provide them immediately with a stock level on the web shop. So they know more or less, can I get this item or can I get then another item? It's a little bit, if we are talking with the big breweries, then it's mainly bigger roles of maintaining kegs, these steel kegs that the beer is in. So that's the main thing there. But do we talk to installers on, for example, just here in Scandinavia, then it's smaller installers that is doing an installation on a bar and so on, and they are normally operating with a little bit shorter lead time. So they want what is available for Friday or something. And then maybe some equipment can get you to the same end. So
there's a supply chain management challenge there for you, right? So making sure that there's enough stock to fulfill the specific needs of every specific market, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's not the same, so it's different from market to market. That's it.
Yeah. Are you managing that over one system?
It's most of it is in our ERP system. So it's D365 we're operating in, but we are here in the middle of a rollout period. So some entities is on and others are not. So that's also mean a part of the company is still running on an old Axapta. Axapta 4.0, so quite old lady, as we call it, and we need that the shop is connecting with the both ERP systems, and that also do that we make some developments on the new for D365, but we also have to remember that we still have some other entities running on the old Axapta, and we shouldn't leave them in the dark, and so on. So there is
So it sounds like you're flying the plane and fixing the plane at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is how it's done. It has to be that way. You can't just stop everything and take on a new system and place it in and expect the best. These things take time to roll out. How big is your marketing team, by the way? Because you said you operate across 20 different, or you're selling into 160 odd companies. You've got presence in 20 odd. How many countries do you have marketing presence in, or how big is your marketing team generally?
We are 14 people in total. In my team here in Denmark, we are 4 people. That's in our headquarter here. Then we have in our US operation, that's more or less half of our business. That's in the US. So the US market is very big for us. There we have a local marketing team, but they are part of this 14 people. Well, half is marketing, half is e-commerce. So it's in our organization, it's overlapping. It's the same people that's involved in maintaining the e-commerce side, and also the general when we are going on trade shows and so on. But 14 in total.
Okay, and are those 14 people then responsible for keeping brand consistency across those 100 and something odd countries that you operate in, or do you also give that over to distributors? Do you give them the rights to be able to make sure that the brand is presented well?
It depends a little bit on areas, but we have of course a very strict design guide. We are a little bit strict with how, for example, our logo is used out in the different markets. We are also a little bit on making, because we have a lot of partnerships with our customers, because maybe some of our equipment is just part of a full installation. Then we also are a little strict on how we co-brand with partners, because most of the time our brand is a little bit behind. And we also would like it to be like that, because we operate most of our customers as competitors, and we don't really want to push anything out. It's we are very dependent on that our customers is selling their equipment first. Mainly they have the beverages, so we see that it's important that they get their kind of beverage in first, and then we can come with our equipment. It's not the other way around, and that also gives a little bit, that we need to think a little bit about how we do the marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I understand that. How do you though make sure that, okay, if because you operate across so many different countries and you have a relatively small team, I would say, for operating over that amount of countries, right?
But that's where we are exporting to. So it's not. I mean, we are having we are in 16 countries where we really have a presence with an office and so on. Yeah.
Even across 16 countries, to have a 14-man or 14-person marketing team, I would say would be agile. Let's say that that's a good thing, by the way.
Yeah.
But trying to keep things consistent from one region to the next, how do you approach the consistency challenge? How do you make sure that things are consistent? How do you make sure that, because you maybe operate across different regions that have maybe different requirements from a messaging perspective even, but still need to be consistent to a global message, as you mentioned before, be global but act local, which would seem that you've got something up here that is connected to everything down here, being the local markets. But you need to remain consistent across all of those local markets based on what you're saying from a global perspective. So how are you attacking that challenge?
Yeah, that's the main part of my role in the organization, to do that. So first, it's some specific guidelines on what is allowed, how do we do, what does our communication look like, and then it's simply a lot of check-in meetings. So I have status meetings. We have a main group where we have for the main markets. We always every second Monday we have a Teams meeting, a check-in. Simply what is coming up. So a bi-weekly meeting there, and then we also have with Asia and so on. There's also bi-weekly meetings to simply have a check-in. What's going on, proofing the content and so on, and then with Teams and so on, it's quite easy to be fast, but it means there is a lot of, because we are spread so much out also in time zones. Then there is quite often it's some text messages early in the morning or late in the night, and then we're just trying to align. And then we are luckily on that many of my good colleagues around the world, they have stayed with the company for quite a long period. Even we were slow during COVID, then out in our we tried that out in our sales organizations, that we still keep the people there. So there was not that many laid off in our sales organization on the local market. So that means they have stayed for quite a long time, and then we start, then we just learn how to represent in the different markets. But you're right. It is a big task to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of policing work that needs to be done, right? Like even things like if you're doing local campaigns, do you have like a project management tool or something that you're tracking everything in, or budget management, things like that? How are you keeping control of that?
So if we take for the projects, then we have a planning tool where we see the projects in. So we see, and then we take the project by project. So that is with exhibitions and so on. So that's one thing. And then if we take the budget wise, then we have, if it's something there is with a global view or a global benefit, then it's on my side. And then otherwise it's always a local. Then it's a local entity, for example, going on a trade show and so on, and then they have to cover it locally. So we have this split. That also means that we don't have one full marketing budget. It's actually split out on 8-10 different budgets. They all have a little piece of marketing on their budgets, but that's because then we can also quite easily see what is the return on investment here. So if you're going on a trade show, then we also expect some kind of turnover in that market, instead of we just take all the cost on a global side.
So and do you, as the head of marketing, see the spend that's happening there? Like when the budgets are divided out, let's say you've got for argument's sake here, or just for simple mathematics here, you've got €1 million budget. Like let's take it a lot more than that, whatever. But let's say just for simplicity's sake, and you've got 10 different markets, and each of them is distributed at 100K each. Do you go away at the start of the year and say, okay, US, you've got 100K, Germany, you've got 100K, etc. So they build out their marketing plans based on that 100K. How does it work? The distribution?
No, it's working, and also so it's actually together with when we are making the sales budget. So it takes in as a sales promotion cost in the different areas. So that's the way we all take it in. The only thing there is going, and that's part of the sales organization actually. So when we are talking that part, for example, on the local entities, the only thing is that if we're going on a trade show, then it's going via me. Then we know, because then we need to be aware of what is happening in the different markets. But that's also because we have a little bit of a focus on all these trade shows. We are attending a lot of trade shows, a lot of exhibitions, more or less one per month, somewhere in the world. Because then one thing is the specific cost for the trade show, but it's also all the people going there. So there's a lot of traveling cost and so on, and all the all the hours that's put into it. So
how are you tracking all of that?
It's very just in some Excel spreadsheets at the moment. It's not very. It could be nicer. But it's a journey we go on.
Of course.
Because as I mentioned also in the beginning, it's also some acquired companies. So we have acquired 4 or 5 different companies over the last 2 years. So it's also to get us all in on the same track. It also needs a little bit of work.
Takes time, patience, energy. I know it can feel like with acquisitions, having been through a number of acquisitions in my career, at times it can feel like pushing water uphill, but it's a necessary pain to get the gain, let's say. So it is how it is. But hey, Mads, look, we're just right up on time now, so I just want to thank you so much for your time today. It's been really interesting chatting with you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah,
sure. And if people want to find you, where's the best place to find you, Mads?
I would say that's on LinkedIn.
Perfect. I'll make sure that your LinkedIn link is shared in the description of this episode.
Yeah.
Mads, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great speaking with you, and hopefully speak again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay. Guys, this has been another episode of Masters of Marketing. Tune in again next week for more great content. Thanks, Mads.
Thank you.